quick tutorial for you guys on how to set up the image plane so you can model against this. Make sure it's the right aspect ratio and size and whatnot. So when I'm looking at this image that I drew back in 2019, we need to determine how big these things are, so we make them to scale because these things matter. So how big is this? And I'm thinking, and looking at the shield and the size of this, how big your hand would be on this and everything. I'm thinking this blade here might be about a meter long, meter and a half, maybe to here or something, from the tip of the blade down to here. So I'm guessing about that big right now. That, how long does that make that? Maybe a bit more than that. That sounds about right for big, shield holding in front of you. So we're going to get it close to begin with. So over in Max, what I'm going to do is just make a plane, and I'm not even going to worry about how big this is. I'm just going to make a plane. You'll see what's going on, and we can just drag and drop the material onto it. So I'm just taking it out of Faststone image viewer here that I use. I'm just going to pull this off to one side, just drag and drop it on. Now you'll notice that the aspect ratio is completely wrong. We can't model on that, obviously, and that's not going to make any sense whatsoever. So there's actually a really neat way of going about doing this. Over in the modify panel, I'm going to add a UVW map modifier. This is not the unwrap modifier. This is UVW map modifier, if I type it in right. And it just puts a planar map on it. You can put spherical and all sorts. We just need a planar map on it from the top. And you'll see what's happened now is it fits, I can say fit, and it's the wrong size. So I could go to the plane and try and adjust it. But what we can do in the map modifier is say bitmap fit. And so I'm going to go in here and now find my bitmap and select the bitmap I'm going to be using, which is this one. And you'll notice now it's correct. It's actually the right aspect ratio. So it's fit itself to the correct aspect ratio. Now, because that's fit now, I can go into the plane and I can resize the plane as I like. And you'll notice I can make it wider now. And notice how the image doesn't stretch on it. It actually, because the top of the stack, so if you weren't showing the end of the stack, you turned off show end result, you're going to get this. But with the UVW map modifier on it, it looks about correct. Now, are we the right size? That's the thing here. So I don't know that we're the right size. So let's just go and make a box and make that box about the right size. Now, first, you want to make sure your scaling's set up. So I'm going to go down from customize unit setup. And I prefer working in centimeters unless I'm doing, some construction type stuff where foot inch tends to be the thing used most in North America. But, centimeters are what we're going to be using for game exports and whatnot. So that's how Max thinks. And then this section here is what you want to see. So metric, well, let's just go and say, metric centimeters or metric meters. And so I said it's a meter and a half, so you don't even have to think now. I'm just going to go make a box and make it maybe about a meter and a half long. So that's fine. So, there's that. And it's got to be 1.5 meters. That's how big my blade needs to be. Okay. So back down to the plane, and I'm just going to stuff the plane just with the width and height. I'm just going to make sure it's big enough. Okay, it's plenty big enough. I'm going to go back to the UVW map. Now what we can do is we can size up the gizmo. So one on the keyboard or go into sub-object gizmo, and I'm going to scale that, but I'm not going to make sure I don't scale sideways only. I'm going to do it at the same side, same way. So X and Y at the same thing. And I'm going to get that weapon so it's about the right size. I'm guessing maybe a meter and a half from there to there or something. That's probably pretty good. So it's somewhere around there that I want. Back one on the keyboard to get out of that. I can make my plane a little bigger now, and you can see I can get the whole image plane in there, and it's good to go. So at this point now, there it is. I can start modeling on top of it. Now, if the quality doesn't look very good, plus sign, we're going to go into configure viewport, and we're going to make sure that our texture map size is up. I don't think this map here I have is Oh, it looks like actually it's pretty high, but it's at, make sure your texture map size is at least 2048 probably. I'm going to turn up my anti-aliasing. If you don't have that up, it's going to look pixely on the edges of things, and hit apply. And there you go. We can start modeling now and start working with our image plane sized correctly and at least understand where we're going with this. Now, some of you have got more complicated models like a skull that I've seen of an animal. You might want to try and draw it accurately from the front, from the left, and from the top, and make sure that those three pieces fit together. And then we can make three of these, and we can actually understand where they are. Now, something else with this, if you notice, I can see it from the bottom, which can be a little bit of a pain because we're going to be modeling above it, and this thing's, always in the way. So planes are actually one-sided, but draw two-sided in the viewport. So right-click, Object Properties, and go in and say Backface Cull, and say OK. Now you'll notice you can't see it from the bottom, which means when we start modeling something from the top, and you have an object from the top that's above it, you can see it when you rotate around. It's not going to get in your way as you're inspecting your model. Okay, and we can worry about just simply looking at it from the top then and understanding what we're seeing in the top view all the time. There you go. That'll give you a better understanding of how to get started and get set up on this project and working with it. I'd also probably just center the plane just to make sure I'm working in the middle of my world space. There you go. Hope that helps.